walked for a long time along the yellow brick path around the lake, holding hands and saying nothing. Silence. Sometimes it holds more meaning and depth than hundreds or thousands of empty, meaningless words. They understood this. Then she turned to him and, as if concluding their silent dialogue, said, "Look, I'm wearing a dress the color of the night sky. You like the sky, especially at night." She was wearing a faded burgundy red dress. That's the color of curtains in theaters, and it's also the color of burning embers. But, quote. He couldn't get a word out, only looked up at the sky, which was indeed the same color as her dress. He stared into her eyes for a long time, not looking away, as he usually looked at the sky, maybe finding in them some resemblance to him. Then he said quietly, "Would you like me to show you what the real night sky looks like, not this one? You've never seen it." "Yes, I want to," she answered cheerfully, without hesitation. "Then come with me, come," he exclaimed. It was unknown how long they walked, an hour or two, until the bright lights of the night city became a shimmering cloud in the distance, beyond the horizon. He asked her to keep her head down and not look up at the sky until he told her to do so himself. He wanted to take her to a secluded, hidden place he had found that no one else knew about, where he had often looked up at the sky until he met her, and he wanted it to appear before her there in all its splendor, awe-inspiring and terrifying majesty, dotted with billions of stars, constellations, nebulae, just there. Such were the feelings and sensations that the night sky inspired in him. He was especially fond of one star shining on the southern side of the sky, not because it was brighter or prettier than the others. It was always in the same place. After all, the stars usually change their position in the sky due to the movement of the Earth around the Sun, and at certain times of the year some of them disappear from the zone of visibility. And this star was always, at any time of the year, in the same place, as if it shone only for him. And every night he came and looked at it, and she at him. Toward morning, when it began to lighten, she would slowly fade away, as if saying goodbye. "I have to go," he read in her slow fading. "I'll wait for you tomorrow," he said in his mind. "I'll be back, you know I will," the star answered him, finally disappearing from the sky. And he would come to this place the next night again and gaze enchanted at his star, and it would shine for him. It even grew a little brighter. But one day it suddenly snapped out of its place in the sky and rolled downward, lighting up, brighter and brighter, as if saying goodbye to him. When it was almost to the earth, it shone with such a force that it would have outshone the sun in its brightness, and for that moment he felt as bright as day. A moment later it disappeared, and an impenetrable darkness surrounded him. He, not believing what had happened, raised his head upwards in expectation of a miracle, hoping to see her there, but the star was not there. The next day he met her. When they finally reached this place, he carefully turned her face to the sea, covered her eyes with the palm of his hand, slightly, by the chin, lifted her head up and solemnly, as if announcing someone's entrance to the stage, said, "Look, there it is, the night sky, the real night sky. Look, honey." What she saw was beyond sense or reason. The blackness of the cosmic night, real, unclouded by anything. Her senses drowned in what she saw, arousing both delight and horror. An unforgettable grandiose spectacle appeared before her. The dim lights of immeasurably distant stars and galaxies, star clouds, streaks and orbs burning with dagger rays. Tangled strands of needle-like luminaries stretched across the entire firmament. The picture she saw, the sense of the infinity and power of the universe made her scream, overpoweringly and senselessly. In fact, she was only moving her lips silently. For who knows how long she stood like that. His hand on her shoulder brought her out of her stupor. The silence around them was so deep they could hear each other's hearts beating. "Sweetheart, would you like me to tell you the legend of heaven, sea and earth?" he said quietly, gazing into the distance of the sea. It was very beautiful and unusual, as if they were people. "Yes, tell me, she exclaimed, still under the impression of what she had seen and raising her eyes upwards from time to time. It is said that when heaven appeared, the earth and the sea had long existed and were together. In the beginning, the earth was hot and restless, and only the passionate and high waves of the sea, which it poured over the earth, could cool it down. But in time she began to cool down, and the sea became more and more calm, because the wind blowing on the sea from the earth grew weaker every day. About this time heaven, which was always very high and could not see the sea or the earth, decided to go a little lower. And then heaven saw the sea lounging in its tranquility. Heaven had never seen anything like it. It saw in the sea a reflection of itself, as if a piece of itself was down there. And more it began to lower itself down to look at the sea. Sometimes when the earth was covered with fog, the sea would go up to heaven to be with it for a short time, but then it always returned in the form of rain or snow. "Are you listening to me, darling?" he suddenly interrupted. Yes, go on." She still didn't take her eyes off the sky, but now he was calmer and more settled. What happened next? Sky fell in love with the sea, a pure, sublime love, and realized how good it is to love someone. Every night Sky lit millions of stars and constellations for the sea, and during the day, the sun. Sometimes it shared its stars with the sea, lighting it up and giving it to him. People called this phenomenon of falling stars stargazing. And what did the sea do? Did it go up to the sky? She asked, throwing a small pebble into the sea. The sea? It stayed with the earth. It couldn't leave her because it was afraid the earth would dry up without her. And Sky continued to give the sea its stars. Knowing this, she continued, disturbing the quiet surface of the sea with small pebbles. Yes. And why did it do it? I don't know. Legend is silent on the subject. But probably as a sign of gratitude that the sea taught him to love, melted his cold, incapable of this feeling heart. It's a beautiful legend. I wonder if I were more. ... What would you be then? She said dreamily. He didn't answer, but gently ran the outside of his palm over her cheek. Then he turned to face the sea and said, "And you know, the day before I met you I used to come here often, almost every night, and look at the sky and watch the stars. I was especially fond of one star shining over there in the southern part of the sky," he said, pointing with his finger to the place where that star used to shine, "but it disappeared, fell the day before I met you. Maybe heaven decided to give it to the sea, too?" There was no answer. "That's where it used to glow," he repeated, turning toward her and extending his right arm, giving in to a passionate and irresistible urge to put his arms around her and hold her close. But his hand found only emptiness. No one was there, and only the whistle of the cold wind and the monotonous murmur of the sea, which he had not noticed before, broke the silence around him. He looked for her, called out, shouted, but no one answered. There was no one around, just him, the sea, the earth and the sky. He raised his head upwards and saw a star, in that very spot, in the southern part of the sky.